Hi, and welcome to Belated Binge, The Office. I'm Zach, your host, revisiting some of the most iconic series in recent memory that I nearly missed out on, like The Office, which I didn't watch until like 5 years after the last episode aired on TV. And it had to have at least been a year of all my coworkers saying it was the best thing to watch. Now it's been a few years since I've seen it, and I've never seen the Superfan edition, so that's what we're going through now. Today, we are wrapping up Season 1 with Episode 6, Hot Girl. Jim is the star. In Hot Girl, there's a purse lady who Michael wants to sleep with, so he lets her sell purses in the conference room. She's kind of a hotter version of Pam, and naturally, instead of Michael getting to sleep with her, Jim does. Well, he gives her a ride home, and we're left to wonder what happened next, but spoiler for next season, it's going to be a thing.
The Belated Binge Podcast.
Before we get into it, there will be spoilers. This series wrapped up in 2013. If you haven't seen it by now, you're later than I was. There will also be adult language. Use earbuds if needed. Shout out to the bonus binge squad of Alex and Katie. For your own shout-outs and access to bonus episodes, join patreon.com/belatedbinge. Link in the show notes. Hot Girl, Episode 6, which will kick off with Scott's thoughts, brief words of wisdom from the mind of Michael Scott. Probably. To truly understand what women want, you should pester them until they cave and give in to what you want. Then you know what they really want is you. We open up with Michael on the phone with Jan, and he's apparently been ignoring her, and she's talking about an incentive program to increase sales. He's allowed to offer a prize up to $1,000 to the top selling salesperson, and Michael wants to get the prize because it's Michael. He does get to pick what the prize is, though, so that's cool. And then we get this random girl, Kate, that walks in trying to sell purses. She immediately starts pitching to Pam and Angela, and she's really heavy salesy, like right out of the gate. She's really pushy, kind of the stereotype of what a I guess door-to-door purse salesperson would be. They can't even get a word in with this chick. It's strong, and I'd forgotten it, to be honest. Pam's trying to send her away by saying no soliciting and all of that, and now we've got Michael doing his talking head, and Dwight's in the room, and he's talking about the prize, and he's like, what motivates people? And Dwight just immediately goes, sex. It's like, yeah, well, you can't offer that for $1,000 to a top salesperson. That would make for an interesting episode. Anyway, Pam asks, and Michael says no to vendors. The purse lady can't set up in the conference room, and then Michael sees the purse lady and immediately decides that he wants to talk to her. And he calls her the new improved Pam. He lets her stay in the conference room, and then we get a talking head. Apparently, Michael likes magazines. I don't know why that was in there. Michael's also very awkwardly trying to get her something. And he's like, anything I can get you, I can get you all these things, I can give you these things. And she's like, coffee. Can you give me some coffee? That would be great. And, all this uncomfortable pestering has led her to cave and just ask for some coffee. And Michael gets emotional over Starbucks. It's really cringy. And she's already regretting the decision to be in this office. I have no doubt. So Kevin asks Pam if she's jealous of the other girl. She says no. He says she's prettier than you, though. And Pam calls him out for being very rude. And now we've got an HR meeting in the hallway because the conference room has been taken. And Kelly is really vocal and professional in that meeting that's happening in the hallway, and that definitely does not stick for that character. She's not even in HR. Anyway, so Kevin and Dwight are like drooling over this purse girl, Kate, and they're trying to debate whether she's local to Scranton, and Dwight says no, if she was local, he'd have her a long time ago. She must be foreign born, Western European, and it's like, what in the fuck am I watching at this point? And we go into Dwight's little like talking head thing where he says that she's perfect for him. Straight teeth, attractive, whatever, particularly her breasts. Not for him, but for his children. because shroots make thirsty babies, which is pure Dwight. And he takes his glasses off to go in, and he starts manhandling one of these purses and starts talking about reptiles and like tries to show her his belt. He's pulled his shirt up. It's so awkward. And Michael interrupts all of this, and he tries to make Dwight seem less attractive than himself. And he brings Kate the coffee that she asked for and just insists on taking her around the office and showing her around like she gives a damn. And I feel for this woman. She had no idea what she was getting into when she stumbled into this particular office. And he makes Ryan babysit the purses, which is weird. And now Dwight gets his like perfect girl talking head, and he describes this backstory of an anime character. Of course it is. So now Michael, he's talking about how much the branch made in sales, and like it's not like we're all millionaires. I'm the closest, and it's like, what? You're the closest to being a millionaire amongst a room of not millionaires? Oh, this is rough and borderline harassment, I think. He makes an Oscar the Grouch joke. She calls him on how it's not original and not funny and whatever. And Pam says she's actually a fan of having Katie around, so that Michael has someone else to bug the shit out of, apparently. And I noticed in the episode, it seems like they take the liberty of going from Kate to Katie quickly when they don't really know this girl, but whatever. Ryan, we get a quick cut to Ryan selling Kelly a purse, which is hysterical, because he's like, I was supposed to be installing this something on the computers, and now I'm standing here with all these purses, and I am selling them, apparently. And now Michael winds up in HR at Toby's desk, and Toby and Katie actually have something in common, and they actually start to talk to each other like human beings, and Michael has to immediately jump in to interrupt, talking about how Toby's divorced and how there's kids and it's messy and he had to sleep in his car, and it's like Michael is just the worst. And he has this talking head of like no office romances, ironic, and then he's like, I got another rule, Nike, just do it. It's, I don't know. I think you've gotten the gist that I'm not a fan of Michael in these episodes. And now we've got lunchtime, and this one's funny. Roy asks Jim about the purse girl, and my first thought is, why are they eating together? Like, Roy and Jim and Pam together? Like, I think Jim tries to avoid Roy and Pam together as much as possible, and Roy can't stand Jim, so like, why? I don't know. I guess so that we can have this scene, because it's really funny, because Jim says that she's not really his type, and Roy's like, are you I'll clean it up. Are you homosexual? And Jim says, no, I don't think so. And Kevin asks him what his type actually is. And, of course, Jim looks immediately to Pam and then says, moms. Soccer moms, single moms, NASCAR moms. And it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This next bit is just hysterical. Kev goes, stay away from my mom. And Jim's response is, too late, Kev. It's great. And then Roy goes into saying he'd be all over that if he wasn't dating Pam in front of Pam. Again, Roy sucks. Michael sucks. Roy sucks. These two suck. And well, Michael sucks in the early episodes. Roy sucks in like almost all the episodes. So Pam and Jim are good buddies, apparently. And Jim's like, I'm kind of her go-to guy for work, and Roy, her only two problems. Go figure. Jim tries to get Dwight to go for the purse girl, which is, it's like a really, really hilarious wingman who's setting you up for failure. And he convinces him to buy a purse if you run out of shit to talk about. And he's just being the best hype man ever. And now Dwight goes for it, and Jim and Pam are faking the conversation while they watch this just monstrosity taking place in the conference room. Dwight's like beating the shit out of the purses, and it's like, it's sad. and and Pam asks Jim about Michael's chances with her because she knows Michael's into him, and he says, not good, not good. He's losing his hair. He's got Mamba number 5 as a ringtone, and by this point, Dwight has bought a purse, and it's just great, so good. I feel like that's what this podcast is going to turn into, just me saying like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's so funny. This is just so funny. At some point, I'm not even going to recap the episodes. It's just going to be Season 3, Episode 4 of The Office. It's so funny. Episode 6. It's funny. And that's going to be your podcast. So anyways, Michael interrupts Pam and Katie, who are in the middle of actually getting to know each other a little bit, at least in the way that you would if you're about to buy something from somebody and it's not a super pushy thing, I guess, like it would have been early on. But he sends Pam away, and he shows the purse girl Katie the Starbucks digital barista that he bought for $1,000, and he immediately offers it to her, like, I'll give it to you, I'll give it to you. But it's the prize incentive for the top salesperson. Then he starts talking about caffeine and coffee, and he references Dunder Mifflin in like the 80s, where apparently they used to do coke and sell paper. That's the spin-off prequel series you didn't know you needed. Do you know you need it now? Michael really wants to give this girl a ride home. He's badgering the shit out of her about it when her ride cancels on her, and like, what? She needs a ride? She's got all these purses and somebody gave her a ride? Like, okay, sure. I'm sure that happens a lot. And she finally caves because she's probably thinking this guy's gonna murder me in my sleep if I don't let him, give me a ride home. And he's like super proud of himself. In his mind, she has just agreed to like a lavish date scenario that is surely to close the deal later on. Like, he is giddy as all hell, and he's like, girls like me because I'm a bad boy, mystery and handsome, and comedy because I'm so funny, and that's why women are attracted to me. And again, Michael is clueless, not self-aware, and he's an idiot. Dwight really, really thinks that the meet cute with the purse girl went really well, and Jim gets him to start filling up the purse, which is a mini briefcase, okay? And Dwight wears it, and it's great. Now it's Kevin's turn. Why? I don't know, but we had to have Kevin hitting on the purse girl and asks if she's into Steve Miller. She's not, because he's in a Steve Miller tribute band. She's not. And now Dwight is asking Michael's permission to ask out Katie. I don't know why, but now Michael says he's giving her a ride home later, and they go into this dialogue it is ridiculous, extremely blown out of proportion, a conversation that absolutely happens between dudes in circles sometimes. And it's the dibs. That's what it is. That's what guys call it. It's the dibs. When a group of guys or a couple of guys see a girl one of them likes, they'll try to call dibs as if that girl is, that woman, that person is somehow like property that they get to claim. I don't know, maybe there's a tax break for it or whatever, but really all it is they let me let you in on a secret here. No matter who you are, generally speaking, someone who sees a person who they are attracted to and they want to try to initiate a relationship out of thin air, because that's what we're doing in the dating scene, right? Like, that's pretty much what you're going for. You're trying to, initiate a conversation with somebody who you might end up fucking like married to or whatever, or just stop it fucking, whatever you're trying to accomplish. And it takes a little bit of psyching yourself up and like getting your plan in action and like getting the confidence to walk over there and start talking to that person. And so what guys will do is they'll use this like dibs thing to make sure that the other dude doesn't go first and like ruin your shot because you're too busy trying to like get the confidence to go over there yourself. You don't want your own buddies swooping in first and, closing the deal when you didn't even have a chance to try. That's what dibs is all about. It's not nearly as possessive as what it sounds like, but it's also kind of douchey in some ways, in a lot of ways, but in the way that they're trying to play out here with Dwight and Michael, it's like the super douchey version. It's where, Dwight's like, "Oh no, I really wanted to like her. Do you like her? Oh no, we can't both like her. Why would you do this to me? This is your fault. Ugh. Is that all it is? Like, do you love her? Is it just going to be a ride home?" And it's like, okay, you both just met this chick. She doesn't want to sleep with either of you, and you're fighting with each other overly dramatically about, again, dibs. And it's ridiculous. Stanley buys a purse, which is cool, and he's not happy that Michael is using the incentive prize to make coffee for the purse girl. And Jim is relentless with Dwight in this episode, and it's really good. He waits until Dwight is in the kitchen or whatever, looking like opening the fridge, and he goes, "Hey Dwight, I need your stapler." And Dwight's like, "It's in my purse." And it's, oh my gosh, it's so good. Angela and Stanley just like look at each other like what just happened, and it's genius. Now Michael wants to ask Pam about what girls her age think about futons, I guess, and Jim and Pam have a good laugh about that one. Roy walks up, Pam's cold to him, and then they basically start dry humping on Jim's desk. Again, I'm not really sure what's going on with Pam in a couple episodes here. She's like weirdly susceptible to very inappropriate borderline sexual behavior with Roy in the workplace. Like, I don't feel like this is a part of the character that sticks around very long, regardless of her relationship status at any point in time or who it could be. Like, I feel like she doesn't do this very long. But she does have the little talking head thing that talking about how she does hope that Jim finds someone because, she's engaged. Angela, apparently Angela likes to touch things while she's shopping. And Dwight really wants to talk to Katie in private to ask her out, and she shuts him down just immediately, and his soul is crushed. And she goes right back to selling Angela on purses. And Angela likes gray, which seems about right. And again, I revert back to the previous episode where I was like, how are Dwight and Angela sleeping together? This is the moment that should have told me they weren't just yet. Anyway, Dwight's perfect date is a physical altercation, apparently, that includes ninjas and apparently murdering his date, which is awesome. Way to go, Dwight. Glad that Katie was able to miss out on that date. Michael asks Ryan to clean his car as a special project for that special ride home. And at this point, Jim, you see the camera hit him and he's just like, you know what, fuck it. And he just walks in and he starts casually starting up a conversation with her. And she's down for it immediately. She's been apparently eyeballing him since she got there. And Jim's line is to learn about purses and not be sold one. She's giggling and he's in. And we knew this is where it was headed, right? Like, we had to set up that conflict. The new and improved, better, hotter version of Pam Jim gets instead of Pam when, Pam is, whatever. But we cut to Michael and Ryan cleaning out the car, and how many fillet of fish did he eat? And Michael has no clue of any of the bands that Ryan's talking about when he asks Ryan to get him some hip music for young people. It's really good. I mentioned I've mentioned that like Ryan isn't my favorite character in this show, but this is really, really good. And Pam's bored, So she asks, what's Jim doing this weekend? And Jim says he's going to go see Katie this weekend. And she's like, oh, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, dinner, drinks, maybe a movie, get matching tattoos, and it's great. Apparently Pam's going to help Roy's cousin move. And it got awkward quickly. And Pam just figured out she's jealous. So now Michael's clueless about his computer. He's really into maps all of a sudden, and I assume this has to do with the ride home that he's giving Katie. He thinks Dwight gives Kelly the purse, which is cool. The camera catches Pam like dolling herself up a little bit because she's jealous, and now everybody's leaving work, and Jim and Katie are going out for a drink. Michael's not actually giving her a ride home. And he's devastated. And Jim is actually smooth. And Pam is shook. And we end the episode with Michael doing a talking head about not being into one-night stands anyways. He chooses his employees or something. And then a bunch of Michael talking heads that are just random, that are all like cut together to close everything out. And that's the episode. That's Hot Girl, and that's it. So I guess we should jump quick into Super Fan or Super Fraud, where I try to guess what was extra for the Super Fan version, and you get to make fun of me for getting it wrong. And the hallway meeting for HR, that was definitely not in it. Ryan selling Kelly a purse, I don't think was in it. Dwight giving Kelly the purse, I don't think that was in it. And I think that Michael's ending talking heads, I think a lot of those were just extra that they threw in here. I'm guessing that they just picked one for their original show, and they threw some of the other ones that they just thought were kind of good and funny into this Superfan version. So that's it. And this is a good one. I do like this episode. While I don't understand the practice of a door-to-door purse seller setting up shop inside of a business for a whole day necessarily, I guess it works. You catch people walking around and they're at least employed, so they might buy something for you. I don't know. But it seems like maybe 8 hours in one tiny office with 12 employees might be a little overkill. But we did get to see some really good scenes, so it was worth it. The lunch scene with Jim saying he's into moms, pure gold. Jim talking Dwight into asking the purse girl out and buying a purse, awesome. Jim and Pam doing that voiceover of Dwight in the act, it's basically it's a shining Jim episode. Like I said in the intro, this is a really good Jim episode. Michael's super annoying, but of course he's Michael, so he's supposed to be. He's actually downright creepy at times, which again kind of fits particularly this early Michael version that we're having to watch. But I'm glad that he does evolve as a character later in the show. I've said that about 100 times already. He's just not even likable. You can't really root for him yet. But that's it. That's the whole first season. I can't believe it went that fast, but at this point they didn't even know if the show was even going to work, and it turned into an absolute classic. And I can't wait to get to that part on this podcast. But all in all, I'm a fan of Hot Girl. This is a good episode. So before we go, let's go ahead and rewrite The Office. For episode 6, Hot Girl, what if Jim never asked out Katie, the purse girl? This question will be shared on social media. You can follow @BelatedBinge across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. There's also an exclusive Facebook group for listeners of the podcast, and the best responses that I receive will be included in a future episode of the podcast. So let me know your thoughts. Give me your best alternate universe ideas from these little questions of changing a little something in each of the episodes and how that plays out. If you enjoyed this episode, re-binging The Office Superfan Edition, give me a follow. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. I'd also love it if you would check out the other binges that I have going on the feed with the Harry Potter books as well as Sons of Anarchy. Visit belatedbinge.com to find links to everything. Or you can even leave a voicemail with your own thoughts on, well, any of it. And check out patreon.com/belatedbinge for bonus episodes and other benefits as well. Thank you so much for listening and telling all your friends how cool they could be too if they listen to Belated Binge, The Office.